Hello and welcome to Senior Connections, a program about the issues and concerns of our senior community. My name is Mike McCracken. Today we're going to be talking about Missoula Aging Services, and I have two delightful ladies here from Missoula Aging Services who are going to tell us about those programs. I have sitting next to me is Susan Kohler, who is the Executive Director with Missoula Aging Services, and Deborah Franzen, who is the Director of Development for that program. We're going to start out by asking Susan a few questions about Missoula Aging Services, sort of try to get some history about the program, how'd you got started, and what kind of services does Missoula Aging Services provide to our community? Susan.
Great. I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk about it. Probably the most important piece of information is how we all got started, and there are many organizations like ours across the country, and we're referred to as area agencies on aging. It was based out of the 1965 passage of the Older Americans Act, which recognized that that there were a lot of older individuals that were retiring and living quite for some time afterwards, and we're dealing with issues of social isolation and poverty and a general lack of connectedness with community. So Congress first initiated programs for nutrition for our elder population, and that still to this day ends up being more popular programs in aging services. But that comes in a couple of formats. One is what we call congregate dining, where seniors come together and eat a meal together. It's a good opportunity for education and social interaction. And then we also have our Meals on Wheels program that people are probably most familiar with, that deliver meals to people who are homebound and unable to get out and access good nutrition. Everyone knows that nutrition is still a very important part of staying healthy, and we are advocates of that in our programming. Missoula Aging Services itself was created by the county commissioners of Missoula County when they recognized that they wanted to have an agency focusing on the issues as it related to aging in Missoula County. And so they created Missoula Aging Services in 1982. And at that time, there were various programs in the community for our elders, but they were in different locations. And so they brought them up under one umbrella, instituted the planning process so we could assess needs and develop 4-year plans to address those needs. The way I like to describe our agency is we're divided into 3 sections. One of them is administration, which people are pretty familiar with. It's kind of the hub that provides the funding and support and the equipment necessary for us to accomplish our mission. And then we have what we call elder services, and that's recognizing that there are services that people could use and need and have expressed to us that they need to help maintain their independence and dignity. Examples of that would begin, as I said, Meals on Wheels. We serve roughly 500 people a year with that program. It's grown substantially. We serve on the average of, this year we'll be serving around 78,000 meals. We have all volunteers that are delivering those meals, and that's about 216 a day. And we deliver 5 meals, hot meals a day, with the opportunity on Fridays to deliver 2 cold meals for the weekend, so a person receives 7-day-a-week meal coverage. We also have various mechanisms. So if the weather, with that snowstorm we got years ago, search and rescue helped us deliver meals because people that we serve in that program don't have any other mechanism for food, and so we got to get there regardless of the weather. Other services that we have is called the Senior Diner Club, and that service helps seniors that have limited income stretch their nutritional diets in a way that they can receive a coupon to go and visit a participating restaurant and get a meal, and we have educational social events throughout the year. Probably the service that I encourage people to remember the most when we talk about aging services is our Senior Helpline and Resource Center. And that's a service that, regardless of whether you're an adult child caring for an aging parent, you're a neighbor, a friend, a relative, a senior yourself, and you are finding yourself needing services but have no idea what's out there, then you can call us at Aging Services, and our information assistance staff has a large database of all services available for seniors. We don't necessarily directly operate those, but we have no financial interest. We just keep an ongoing database. We help people with things like, what's the difference between assisted living and a nursing home? What are my housing options? I don't understand how to read my Medicare summary beneficiary notice. I'm not sure what supplemental insurance I should choose based on my particular needs. What should I be looking for? And we're able to provide that information to be good consumers. And probably the other thing that I think we're really good at is that we're connected into a nationwide network of information assistance. So people, if you have a loved one who lives in Rhode Island or Florida, we can connect you with a person to give specific information. We have a wonderful resource library that can check out books and information and resources about various aspects of aging or a disability. And so we tell everybody that's what creates us as a focal point in the community, a good starting point in terms of trying to figure out what's going on in the community. We help support transportation needs, specialized transportation for people who need door-to-door transportation, and we work with a collaboration of providers in the community, and we're really trying hard to improve that service. We have rural sites in our nutrition programs. We serve Condon, Sealy Lake, Frenchtown, and Lolo, and we are also able to deliver meals in those areas to homebound residents. And that's what we call, in general, our Elder Services Department. We have a case manager. We call it a care manager because people aren't cases. We do care about them. So that person can go out and sit down in the home with family members or their support system and help figure out what of all the services would be most helpful in matching the informal support they're getting from friends and family with what maybe the more the service-oriented people could come in and help support their effort as a caregiver. So that's our Elder Services Department. And then the last aspect of our agency is what we call community services. And that's recognizing that elders have a wealth of talent and experience that they can help meet community needs and make Missoula the kind of place we all enjoy living. That's through our Senior Service Corps, which includes foster grandparents, senior companion, and the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, better known as RSVP. And in those programs, we match older people with their talents and interests and a variety of nonprofit or settings that need support, whether it's through hunger projects, mentoring children, tutoring children, helping homebound seniors as companions, working in hospitals, just in a variety of capacity. In most nonprofits, you look behind the scenes or maybe right in the front of the scenes, and you'll see that there are seniors at work trying to assist in some of our more problem areas of the community. So when you ask what we provide, obviously we provide a lot of service to our community, but more importantly, we provide a focal point for people to turn to when they first find themselves in a position of needing services.
I'm sort of sitting right on the cusp of becoming a senior citizen, as you can tell from the gray that's surrounding my face. And I'm curious what's happening with the senior population in Missoula. Are we looking at a growth because of the baby boomers are now moving into that spectrum?
We are. Interesting enough, nationwide, the fastest growing segment of the population is the 85 plus. So you're a little ways away from that. Yes, you would be considered, an example of that is we served a woman who was 104 years old on our Meals on Wheels program, and we served her daughter who was 70. So if that, and in fact we served the daughter before we ever served the mother. So that gives you an idea of how the aging of our population is. In general, there's an aging of our society, in our country and in our world. We certainly have less children being born, and certainly a swell because of the baby boomers in that category. So that it will permeate every aspect of our community, whether it's business, customer service, the service industry, the tourists, and then the challenges that come with us baby boomers, which is, and the seniors today wanting choices, wanting to be empowered to make our own choices of how we age and age in place. So Missoula County has 17,000 people over the age of 55, and we view that not that you're 55-year-old, but chances are you're in that position where you could be caring for an aging parent. And so we're very much cater to that, plus the fact that people who are fortunate enough to retire at 55 have a variety of time and skills that we like to rope into helping the community meet its needs.
That's outstanding. So basically, you're talking that the aging population is growing, the programs and services you're providing are growing, and you need some other place to be than where you are right now. I've visited your facility on Front Street many times. To me, it seems to be sort of a rabbit warren of little cubicles and small offices. There doesn't seem to be a lot of room. There's virtually no parking. There's not a lot of public transportation right down there. I think the bus station is several blocks away. What's the future? Tell us about this future home that I'm hearing about. I had a chance to do some videotaping a little while ago out at 337 Stevens.
Great, and let me tell you a little bit about the evolution of how all this came about. One of the issues that you mentioned is with the growing of the aging population, we have a growing in demand for services, and I use the example that Meals on Wheels jumped 20,000 meals in 1 year. Well, at a cost of roughly $3.65 to $4 a meal, times 20,000, that's pretty significant in terms of our ability to come up with finances for that. So one of the first things the Governing Board of Missoula Aging Services said, well, how can we prepare ourselves for this escalation of cost and services? And the first thing that we did was go to the community and pass a mill. I would say we didn't pass the mill. The community agreed that it was important enough. And that basically stabilized, at that point, our services. We were kind of under the water, maybe with a little straw up in the front there, but we finally came up to the surface to breathe. The next thing was, what's the next step? And the next step came with, how can we control our overhead expenses, our space costs, which everyone knows that rent escalates in this town quite substantially. And so we wanted to get a control over that space cost so we could maximize the number of dollars going into services. In addition to that came well, if our primary focus is to have people come and get information, assistance, and counseling on what's out there and available, they need to get to us. And as you mentioned, parking where we are is not conducive for people to want to stop by and visit very much. So the new building is going to meet that need. We have adequate parking. We're also going to have computers available for internet access for people who want to do research on particular topic area or connecting to other websites in other areas or states if they're caring for a elder in another state or another location. We will have counseling rooms set up for families to come in and kind of talk about what their needs and concerns are, and for us to facilitate options and consumer education to make those kinds of choices. We'll have a conference room that's large enough to have small training sessions in, whether it's helping people understand caregiving 101, or financial planning or whatever. We can have guest speakers in to provide that expertise. And we're just going to we'll have an improved phone system. Currently we don't have things that seem like no big deal to the next person, voicemail, but to a caregiver who's just barely getting time to get away from work to make that call, they want to be able to leave their message and so that we can get back to them quickly when they can't necessarily play phone tag with you. So the voicemail will help us a tremendous amount in that. So this building overall is going to provide us much more space to grow. And I may add that we're also, as I said, continuing to serve as that umbrella. Radio reading service will be coming in and being a partner with us in the new facility, again helping that organization, which provides a great service for our visually impaired audiences. So this building is long time coming, and we can't wait to get in.
Okay. I had the opportunity to visit there fairly recently, and I took some videotape of it, and one of the things I was very impressed was I found a place to park immediately. There's nice parking there. The bus comes stops right in front of the facility, which is going to be great for those people who have to use that transportation. I think we have a tape here of the ribbon cutting ceremony, if we can roll that. And Kristen, is that possible right now?
Welcome everyone to Missoula Aging Services new home, and we're gonna cut the ribbon here, and then we'll go in and have a few speeches and make those short and sweet so everybody can have a look around. So.
Ready? Yeah, there we go.
Oh.
There you go.
Well, that's great. What I did notice when I was there, though, is it can take a lot of work before it's ready. I saw lots of unfinished work. I saw lots of the beams hanging out and lots of dirt and dust around. It looks like you've got a real heavy job ahead of you. And I'm gonna throw a little bit here to Deborah Franzen again, who's the Director of Development, and talk about what your role in all of this is. You've got a lot of experience, I understand, in fundraising activities and pulling the money together, but you've got a long path to go to make this thing happen and make it a reality. That's pretty true?
Yes, thanks, Mike. It is true. On the one hand, we do have a lot of money to raise, but on the other hand, we're fortunate enough to live in Missoula, which is an unbelievably generous community. And so while it's a scary proposition, on the other hand, I'm absolutely convinced we can do it. And we don't have to raise the entire amount of money from the community. The good news is we've actually already done a fair amount of it. The building is going to happen in two phases. Phase one, which will end at the end of January, will be where the renovation is sufficient for us to be able to move in and start doing services, start doing business there. And then the second phase, which will go till the end of September, is the finishing of the renovation, but we're going to be in there. Now, by the end of January, we need to raise, let's see if I can show you this here, $130,000, well, there we go, $130,000. We've already raised quite a bit. This is the good news right here. The entire project is $1,456,000, of which we raised almost $900,000 already. We were able to get financing from First Interstate Bank for $650,000, and then we've raised other things through community development block grants, which paid for our very cool elevator, and foundations, individuals, aging services, and governing board staff, United Way, corporate donations. So to get into the end of phase one, another $130,000, and we'll be in. Then we have to raise beyond that another $432,146. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less, because gosh, you know, on building projects, nothing ever changes. We need to raise that from the community. And again, I think this is doable. We've applied for several grants from national foundations, and so far they're looking promising. But again, in the community, we do need to raise this money, and I think we can do it. Many people received in their Missoulian on November 29th our annual report. In that was an envelope that people can take advantage of. We're going to be doing a mailing next week to about another 10,000 Missoulians. Envelope there too. And we have a steering committee, the Building Campaign Steering Committee of local volunteers, business leaders, good-hearted individuals who are going to be approaching various businesses in the community and people in the community that we've identified as possibly having good feelings about us. But if in any of that someone is not contacted, if we miss you somehow, they can also always call me or call Susan at Aging Services.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have the number?
We can put the phone number up here
Okay,
in
they
a
can
moment.
call us, and we can be sure to send them off a packet. They can also call us if they have any questions about the building project whatsoever. It's exciting. I'm also happy that we're renovating a building. We're not building a new building way the heck on the outside of town. We're staying in the core of Missoula.
And it's a building that has some historical import to the community of Missoula.
And it's the Slant Street neighborhoods are wonderful. The new Orange Street Boulevard with those beautiful lights. It's
That's
going
right.
to be a lovely place for us to be. We're just around the corner from Sacagawea Park, and I'm thrilled.
And it's really centrally located.
Yes, it
in
is.
terms as well. You're not talking about going all the way out near the airport or some other part. It's really centrally located.
Right, and
so
we're reusing an older building in the community, and it's going to be beautiful when we're done. We had a lot of cleaning to do and a lot of asbestos abatement and other projects like that, but when it's done, it's going to be just terrific. And I'm very proud to be a part of it. And I look forward to answering any questions that people have about this, how they can help out. And also we will, if people are interested in, if they have access to donated building materials, if they are somehow a wholesaler or a business in town who might be able to help us, to also call us, because the Phase 2 renovation, we could certainly take advantage of that type of donation also, some type of in-kind donation.
Sure, sure. Well, that's outstanding. I think it's a fantastic project, and it's a project that every one of us are going to have to get involved with at some point or another. You talked about whether turning into a senior or you're turning into somebody who's going to have to be caring for seniors. This facility and what the services you're going to be providing are going to be a part of our lives. And I plan to spend the rest of my life here in Missoula, and I hope to watch your organization grow and watch that building grow. And one of these days I'm going to be teetering in there myself, looking for some help and some services. Again, the number, if people want to contact the Missoula Aging Services, is 728-7682, 728-7682. Don't hesitate to give them a call and ask how you can help. And I think, the operative word is there is no donation that's too small.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you think you have access to big funds, give them a call as well. Just one last opportunity. This has got to be a real exciting time for you right now to see this kind of growth. And for something like Missoula Aging Services has really got to be an exciting thing for you.
It's exciting and it's a privilege. It always has been. I've been at the agency now 18 years, and so I've aged with aging
There you go.
services. But one of the gifts it has always brought to me is to have that opportunity to work with the older members of our community, and the wealth of experiences and knowledge and just the richness of their lives that they share. I wouldn't hesitate to spend the time and energy that we are to provide that kind of support to people who basically built Missoula themselves and brought children and built our schools and are very much a part of what Missoula has become today. So it is a privilege to be able to do this for our elder population.
And I see it more as a mix of opportunities. I had the opportunity to go to a recognition picnic out at Karis Park earlier this year when you talked about a number of seniors getting involved, and they were getting involved in children's lives, and they were getting involved in other people's lives, and so you have that mix happening all the time. This isn't just things just for the seniors.
Right.
There are whole families involved. There's programs in which they are working with children as foster grandparents. They're in the schools. And so this is the impact of this program of Missoula Aging Service and the programs is much broader than just that little focus of senior citizens. And I think that's an exciting part of it as well, and you're to be congratulated for keeping those programs alive and well too.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Senior Connections, and we've been talking to Missoula Aging Services and two wonderful people from there, Susan Kohler, who's the Executive Director, and Deborah Franzen, who's the Director of Development. And we're looking for good things in the future with Missoula Aging Services and their new facility, which is out on, 337 Stevens. So drive by, take a look at it, take a look at the work in progress, and get involved with the project. And I think it's something you're going to, if you do get involved with it, you're going to remember it for the rest of your life. Thank you for tuning in with us this evening.